Today, we're doing music theory for absolute beginners. We're going to learn musical notes, half steps, and whole steps. Coming up. Okay, let's start simple. Musical notes are named after letters, just to help keep track of them. So we use the letters A through G in the alphabet. So those first 7 letters of the alphabet all correspond to musical notes on a guitar, or notes that you sing, or on a piano. Now, not all of those notes are the same distance apart. Even though A to B in the alphabet is 1 letter away, and B to C is 1 letter away, in music, their A to B is a whole step, while B to C is only a half step. Now, that probably seems a little bit confusing, so let's explain one other thing. In music, we have what's called a chromatic scale, which is representing all of the notes, not skipping any. So, in other words, a chromatic scale is every note of the scale in half-step increments. So if we were starting on A, we would work our way up until we got to another A. And if you were counting, from that A we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 half steps. Now, A, B, C, D, E, F, G is 7 letters, but we have 12. I'm confused. Okay, so the 7 letters wasn't enough, and rather than just use 12 letters, which would have made more sense, they decided to separate them with what we're going to call sharps and flats. So if you want to go a half step above an A, rather than go to a B, you're going to go to an A sharp. So in this case, we went from an A to an A sharp. That's a half step above. You might also hear it called a tone or a semitone instead of a step or a half step. So a step is 2 half steps, crazy math, and a tone is 2 semitones. So we're going up a semitone or a half step from A to A sharp. Now it starts to make sense here because we're going to go from A sharp, and what's the next letter in the alphabet after A? Is B. So we're up to the B now. Well, okay, so it's starting to seem like we'll go A sharp, B, B sharp, C, C. Oh, I can understand what we're doing here. Except 7 letters times 2 would be 14 notes, and we decided that we only have 12, so we're about to hit a snag here. When we go up from this B, we're not going to go to a B sharp. Technically it is a B sharp, but it's also just a C. So we went A sharp, B, C. You'll notice that from A to B was 2 half steps, but from B to C was only 1 half step. Then things start to get a little bit normal. We go C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and then we hit another snag. Instead of E sharp, we're going to an F. And then we regulate until we get back to A. We go F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and A. So why does this matter? We've got whole steps and half steps, and the letters don't make sense, and there's sharps sometimes, and there's not sharps other times, and what is a flat even? Well, because you asked. A flat is the same as a sharp, but on a different letter. Did I make that confusing enough? Okay, so instead of an A sharp, we could call that a B flat. So a flat is a half step below its letter. So we have a B go down a half step, B flat. That's the same as going up a half step from an A. So an A sharp and a B flat are the same. Same as a G sharp and an A flat are the same. Technically, a B sharp and a C are the same, and a C flat and a B are the same, but my brain's starting to hurt, so yours may have just exploded. My bad. Okay, so we know that things just don't quite make sense, and we've got some weird jumps between letters and half steps and whole steps, and why do I even care? Well, you kind of don't have to. If you want to just strum out a few chords, like I'm teaching you to do in other videos, and then you want to sing along to them, then that's perfectly fine. And technically, you don't need to know that a B and a C are a half step away, and that an E and an F are a half step away, but a G and an A are okay, you don't care. Stick with me. We're going to use this knowledge to figure out how a major scale is built. And once we know how a major scale is built, we'll be able to figure out how to make a chord from a major scale. And I know this seems like it is just so much information, but this is the absolute beginning. You need to know that there's a chromatic scale that is half-step increments. There are 12 different notes in all of musical existence. And you need to know that a half step is just one note above the previous, and a whole step is 2 steps above the previous note. If you know that for now, we're good, and we're going to build on this later. This is the absolute beginning of music theory, and I don't want to make it seem complicated. We're going to learn enough that we can translate this onto a guitar in a really cool way. So you've learned what a chromatic scale is, you've learned sharps and flats, half steps and whole steps, and you know we're going to do something with it in the future. That's enough for now. You've learned a whole lot in the past few minutes, and we're going to keep building on it. This is just part 1 of our music theory series, so there will be a playlist when all the other videos get put out. If you're watching this and I haven't made the other videos yet, feel free to subscribe so you can see them when they come out. Thanks for joining me. I'm Drew Thomas. Don't forget to let your toes fly free.